Hey, good morning, everyone. I am France Hong, founder and CEO of Bootlebox. Welcome to How to Lead Collaborative Gen AI Training. I see a couple of familiar names. Welcome all. This is kind of a more informal session, and it can be a back and forth. So some folks prefer to just look and listen, but I'm going to allow you guys to come onto audio and video if you want. Totally up to you. That is your call. But it's great to have you all here today. So what's the plan? So for the next 30 minutes, just as a really quick overview on our approach to leading generative AI training in organizations. So, who's Boodle AI? I think many of you know already, right? We've been around doing AI before AI was cool. We've worked with hundreds of organizations, helping them adopt, or in some cases not adopt AI. We know all the pain points, and all that got poured into Bootlebox, our collaborative Gen AI platform. But on top of Bootlebox, we provide a lot of this type of training, training to organizations through on-demand videos, through webinars, talking about different ways to use generative AI in the organization and how to lead it. And so you're here because you're interested in adopting generative AI in your organization and leading those training efforts. And we're here to give you some of the tools that could be helpful. So we created this framework called the FOMO framework. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. There's really no fear of missing out on generative AI. We're in the early days. But the FOMO framework is a collaborative learning method that emphasizes hands-on practice and knowledge sharing among learners to accelerate Gen AI adoption. In other words, we want people to learn by seeing and doing. That's the bottom line. We think people learn best when they see other people use Gen AI correctly or in a way that interests them, and then by doing it themselves. This technology is amazing. It's groundbreaking, but frankly, it can be a little intimidating. So I just did a LinkedIn post today talking about how one of the challenges of generative AI is you can do anything with it. And if you can do anything with it, that really means that you don't know where to start in many cases. So imagine walking into a restaurant and the waiter just says, "Hey, we can make anything you want. What do you feel like eating today?" I think a lot of us would actually struggle and be like, "Gosh, what do I feel like eating today? I don't know. Geez, you tell me," right? That's why restaurants have menus. So it's much easier for people to choose from a menu than it is for them to come up with something on their own. And so it helps people to understand what their choices are. And part of the FOMO framework is helping people understand what is possible so they know where to start. So some other advantages of the FOMO framework, right? I think there's a natural desire for people to keep up with their colleagues. And so when you make generative AI collaborative, when we're working together, when you see what other people are doing, there's a stronger, natural, strong tendency to, hey, I want to keep up with what other people are doing. People learn by also watching other people. So I've got young kids. I'll take my 6, now 7-year-old to the playground. I'll ask him, "Hey, do you want to do the monkey bars?" He's like, "Nah, I don't feel like a dad." Then some other 6, 7-year-old goes running across the monkey bars, and he'll be like, "Dad, I want to do the monkey bars now." In many ways, we're the same, right? I'm not sure if I want to use Gen AI. Oh, look, there's that amazing thing that Lance is doing with generative AI. I want to try that too now. So practicing, right, makes perfect, but only if it's perfect practice. So one of the ways that we can accelerate learning is by having a one-on-one mentorship, or the ability to practice with somebody who knows what they're doing, mentoring you and helping you along the way. Up until this point, that's been kind of awkward and hard to do with generative AI. It tends to be a very solo experience. But with collaborative Gen AI, with Bootlebox, you can be in other people's chats and they can be in your chats, and that really speeds up the ability to mentor and help. And lastly, we really believe that as soon as possible, students should become teachers. So you learn best by teaching, to be honest. In a prior life, I taught Japanese swordsmanship as a martial art. One of the ways that I encouraged my students to accelerate their learning was to put them in a position where they had to teach and mentor others, right? So, if you're a third-year student, you're working with second-year students. If you're second-year students, you're working with first-year students. And there's just something about having to teach and explain to somebody else that really sharpens your own understanding. Okay, so let's dive into the FOMO approach. So very easy, 4 letters, pretty easy to remember. It'll echo what I just said. The first step of the FOMO approach in your organization is just to familiarize everybody with the fundamentals. Just the basics. What is GenAI? Why does it matter? How does it work? When to leverage it? Where to learn more? Just give people the basic grounding. There is a language about generative AI, and there is a vernacular. And it, while you don't have to understand in nitty-gritty detail how it works, right down to like being able to build it, but having a general knowledge of like what a large language model is, or the idea of prompts and responses does help your understanding, right? So just like, I don't think any of us can take apart and put together a car engine, but we understand that there's such a thing as an engine and spark plugs and fuel, right? And car maintenance. And so that basic level understanding, I think, is necessary to get adoption of generative AI. And you can deliver this several different ways. You can give people self-study resources. You can do group training lessons. By the way, those self-study resources could be readings. They could be on-demand videos, whatever. Or you can use some combination of the two. But you want to give everybody some kind of grounding in generative AI. So that's the F of FOMO. For O, right, for observe best practices, what you want to do next is give new users an opportunity to witness firsthand effective GenAI usage. So, and you want to teach them a methodology to use generative AI. So, there's a reason why pilots have checklists when they fly an airplane, so they don't miss any critical steps. You can certainly prompt impromptu in generative AI, but I think it helps to have a process by which people kind of attack the problem of using generative AI. At Boodle, we teach something called the Boodle way, and it's very simple, right? You want to begin with the right use cases. You want to opt for the right model or bot. Then you want to orchestrate your prompting. You want to draw from team knowledge, incorporate knowledge. You want to leverage multiple AIs. You want to engage in human collaboration. And if you follow those 6 steps, I pretty much guarantee you the results you get from the use of generative AI are going to be better than if you just kind of wander off on your own. And so giving people a chance to see somebody else using a methodology and going step by step and getting good results really gives them a chance, A, to be, okay, that's why I'm doing this. I can get something useful out of this. But B, okay, this is the methodology. I can do that. I saw that person do it. I can do this as well. Okay, the M of the FOMO method. Next, you want to give people a chance to do it on their own. We really believe in group collaboration, having people gather in one-on-one or small groups, have them work together on real-world problems, real-world tasks, and then having experienced mentors provide real-time guidance and feedback right there in the chat or over a Zoom or both. This encourages collaborative learning and problem solving. And it's even better if you do in a small group and other people can see the learning and journey of others who are using generative AI. We use this pedagogy a lot in other forms of teaching, right? Group teaching. So going back to the martial arts example, when I was in Japan, living and training in a school of Japanese martial arts, the school was super small. So there might be 20 or 30 students in the dojo, but only 4 students could train at a time. So that meant, the rest of us, 16, 20 of us, were just sitting on the sidelines. But we weren't just sitting. It was considered actually a vital part of your training when you're not on the training floor itself to be observing, to watch the other students training. And by watching them, you were also learning. And so, watching others do generative AI and getting tips and pointers and corrections is, I think, vital to accelerating Gen AI learning. And then lastly, the O of FOMO is giving people an opportunity to teach others. So as soon as possible, empower learners to become teachers and create avenues for them to share their knowledge and experiences with others. That creates ownership among people. That creates the ability for people to sharpen their own knowledge. And then it creates this environment, right, of knowledge sharing and of continuous learning. So those are the 4 steps to the FOMO method. Familiarize with the fundamentals, observe best practices, mentor through hands-on practice, and opportunities to teach others. Okay, I'm going to go over 3 kind of short little modules that you could use to deliver this, and then there's different ways to put this together. But we recommend that the first module is this idea of fundamentals of Gen AI and how to get the most out of it. You want to teach what's Gen AI, why does it matter, how does it work, when to use it, and a methodology, whether it's the Boodle way or another methodology of using GenAI. You'll get the slideshow afterwards, and you'll get these links. Here's a video that accomplishes that. If you want to, you can simply have your team, your organization watch that video. That's super easy. If you want to do the training yourself, here's a set of Google slides you can take, make a copy, customize it for your group, your organization, and teach this class yourself and tailor it to your needs. So those are, and then the third option, of course, is to go out on the internet. There's lots of classes out there, lots of resources of people trying to provide an introduction to generative AI, and there's other methodologies. We certainly don't have the only one, but feel free to explore those as well. Okay, module 2 is apply GenAI. We call this the walk phase of training. If this was the crawl phase, this is walking. Here you want people to learn how to use Bootlebox or the platform of your choice. You want to give them an understanding of common use cases of generative AI, and you want to get them in there. You want to get them in there and actually using generative AI on an actual use case that matters to them. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why I think this form of training is better than just simply giving people a list of prompts and prompt libraries. Prompt libraries kind of assume people know the use case, and there's a prompt for it. That may or may not be the case. If you teach people the principles of how generative AI works, of how to attack a problem, any problem, then they will, and you let them use it on their real use cases. You're teaching them the principles that are flexible and a methodology and a process they can use for anything, versus just cutting and pasting a particular prompt without really any understanding of why the prompt works and what other use cases there are out there. So we do have this short video, Getting Started with Bootlebox. It gives you a short 5-minute overview on the platform. It's pretty intuitive, but I'm always amazed that when I go through the platform with users, how they don't know about a particular key feature, whether it's being able to paste in a link and web scrape or upload a document or use multiple bots in the same conversation. There's a lot built into the platform. Using this set of instructions or this short 5-minute video, there's both those links here in the presentation, will give you an overview of 80% of the platform's features. And then here is a link to a guide I just put out today, actually. So this is a very up-to-date presentation. 99 ways anybody can use GenAI. And in this link here, and I'm going to do a series of these. What I tried to lay out was just some very general use cases and assistance and sample prompts to give people a feel for the art of the possible with generative AI. And I spent a lot of time actually crafting these examples because they produce interesting outputs, frankly. And so even if you're experienced at generative AI, it may be fun for you to go into this list and check out these bots and try this particular prompt that I put in here. But with your team, give them a quick introduction to Bootlebox, show them this use case document, and then I would encourage you to get them into the platform, ask them to pick out a use case and start experimenting, and then do it in a way where people are either sharing what they're doing in real time or you're using that GroupChat link at the top of the chats to share that in real time with you as a trainer or a trainer that you've trained, or even have everybody in one gigantic group chat, and one by one, you're going through use cases and have everybody take turns, and everybody else gets to learn by watching other people doing. So that's module 2. That's the applied Gen AI. That's the walk phase. The third phase is the run phase. And this is where we really lean into this idea of collaborative Gen AI, not just solving problems on your own with AI, but really doing this in a collaborative way and leveraging the full ability of Bootlebox as a collaborative Gen AI platform to work together with multiple people, multiple AIs, and multiple sources of knowledge. And so the idea here is really to teach people how to collaborate in Bootlebox and figure out some common use cases for collaborative Gen AI, and then to engage in a collaborative exercise. And so we've provided some instructions here on how to start group chats with everyone, just in case your team's not familiar with that. And here's a list we put out of 100 ideas for group collaboration with generative AI. And these are just ideas for you to get a group, and to have a little bit of fun and learning by trying to tackle a problem together. Obviously, the best thing to do would be to grab a real world use case that you're trying to tackle that lends itself to collaborative Gen AI and tackle it. But if you're looking for ideas, we have this list of 100 and you can pick any one of those. And so the idea is pretty simple. After you teach people how to collaborate with generative AI, in other words, pull together this link, this group chat link up here, this group chat link up here, and you share it with your team and everybody's in. What you really want to do then is get everybody in the chat and talk about what you're trying to accomplish and give people a chance to experience, going back and forth talking to other people, going back and forth talking to the bots, asking the bots to take into account the feedback from other people. It's a different way. Generative AI itself is a different way of using technology. Collaborative Gen AI takes it up a notch. So here's an example that me and my team did not so far in the past internally. We were working on our company values, and here's 19 people in a group chat, and this conversation goes on for hundreds of prompts and responses and comments, but people are putting their ideas in. People are using Perplexity and other web bots to research values from other companies. People were using different Gen AI bots to come up with ideas for values, to revise them, to iterate them. They were comparing and contrasting. We eventually brought in a bot to gestalt and take all the ideas and come up with 3 really good ideas, and then we revised it further. I've even seen some cases where people are trying to make a point, so they ask AI to, hey, make an argument for X, and then somebody else brings in a different AI and says, well, make a counter argument for X. And so this is the heart of collaborative Gen AI, right? Treating AIs as a coworker, as a colleague in a chat alongside your human colleagues and coworkers, and doing something that you couldn't do otherwise. Okay, so those are the 3 modules we talk about: crawl, walk, run. If you do those 3, it's not a bad way to introduce your team, your organization to generative AI. We have in the materials, you'll get a more detailed FOMO framework application. This is a more intense methodology if you want to follow it, where you pick a team, you train that team, you use that team then to train the rest of your organization. You send out a pre-assessment survey, and then you basically do the same phases, but they're more detailed. And we actually provide you, if you want, some lesson plans for these 3 or 4 lessons, if you want to follow them or adopt them. So this is all going to be in the materials you get afterwards. And we do recommend doing a pre and post training survey, because then you can measure, right, the impact of your training and what people got out of it, as well as ideas for improvement. Okay, just some best practices. What we've seen helpful, dividing your group, your team, your organization into buddy teams or cohorts that are using generative AI together. So they have somebody who they can actually work with. And can be their actual work teams as well. I've seen some groups do a concept of a helpline where, hey, I am the guru for Gen AI from an organization. If you ever run into a problem, just send me the group chat link in Slack, in Teams, in email, whatever, and ask me your question. And that allows you to basically be the 911 for Gen AI help and jump in and help people. I've seen some people who are the Gen AI leads for their organizations assign individual AI bots for particular people to explore. They know that Sally works in marketing, and and she's struggling with coming up with marketing plans. So, hey, Sally, this week I want you to just explore marketing plan, and why don't we talk at the end of the week what you did? That just a little bit of prodding gets people off the X and start using generative AI, and just spurs that adoption. So very similar, you can also assign individual problems and tell them, hey, this week together, let's work on this problem. One practice is using group chats as part of your SOP for Zoom and team calls. So before you get on a team call, let's say you're talking about an upcoming fundraising event as a nonprofit, you can upload all the documentation related to that event into a group chat, and then have that group chat link available in the Zoom call. And so if anybody has a question, they can simply just ask the AIs, and the AIs have access to all that information. And then in real time, you can ideate, you can come up with ideas, you can revise ideas. It's a really powerful adjunct to a Zoom or team meeting, and it also makes the meeting more engaging. I think we've all been in those Zoom calls where you just have to listen, but you don't really have to be involved. And so you're multitasking, you're checking LinkedIn, you're checking email, you're looking at your phone, right? While the people are talking. Well, when you use group chats as part of Zoom or team calls, there's a reason to stay engaged. You can do things alongside the conversation with AI and actually get work done, make a contribution in terms of research. It's really interesting. It's a different way of working virtually, and we found a lot of benefit from it internally at Boodle. Those group chat links can also be used asynchronously. In other words, they don't have to be just used when you're both on the line together. Someone described Bootlebox once as if Slack and ChatGPT had a kid. You can drop that group chat link in Slack, in Teams, in somewhere else, and you can have conversations back and forth, even if, asynchronously. If there's a message here that you haven't read, it'll light up with a 1 and to check it. It's a great feature. Okay, where to learn more? You can always email us at success@Boodle. There's a resource hub online on our website. We've got a quick start guide. We've got a Discord channel. For those of you who are looking for a more fulsome framework for enterprise adoption, highly recommend you check out the Enterprise Adoption GenAI Playbook by Jim Stern. There'll be a link here in the presentation, which we send out. And that's it.